founder of a grassroots group called Crone Club, and that's Crone as in Old Crone. And today's talk, as Emma said, is on the theme of corruption, and it's in 3 parts. So the first part includes a few musings on the word crone itself and corruption of the word crone over time. Part 2 is about how the Crone Club came about and why the narrative of female ageing needs corrupting. That's quite a short bit because that's bloody obvious. And in part 3, I'll share some of the things we've learned while we've been building our little community so far. How as creatives do we actually go about positively corrupting a negative narrative. So we're going to jump right in. A few years ago, my friend Julianne Hall sent me this link to this blog here about crone crowning ceremonies. Is anyone familiar with what they are? Anyone had one? Been to one? No. So basically, it's a ceremony to mark the entry or end of menopause. But basically, it's kind of to mark a positive stepping in to our 3rd act of life in a really sort of positive way. We did one last year in North Wales, in Bodland Ebb, and it basically kind of involved a cold swim. We set up a shrine of pictures of all the women in our lives who had had a big impact on us, and then we had a lovely ceremony led by our high priestess Frankie, who led us in some wholesome fuck the patriarchy songs, which was all good fun. Read a few passages about the qualities of the type of crone we want to be. We had a fire, ate food, got pissed and danced, so I can heartily recommend it. It's a thing. Anyway, to go back to the blog that my friend sent me, I noticed that although I loved the ideas that were being communicated in that blog, I also noticed that I felt pretty repulsed by the word crone. I don't know how you guys feel about it. So like any other self-respecting, neurodiverse creative, I disappeared down the internet rabbit hole for a long time and got lost in exploring this word crone. So if you put crone into Google, this is what comes out top. An ugly old woman. Actually, it gets better. Second down on Google is an ugly, evil-looking old woman. And if you look at the origin of the word, you'll probably come across variants of this, which claims it's a derivative of Old Northern French carry on. I should be able to do it because I'm French surname, meaning carrion. So crone literally comes from the word for a fettered, decaying carcass. So that's what the patriarchy think of us. So why, you may well ask, is there a growing movement to reclaim this word and other words similar to it, like hag, which you might have seen recently? Well, if you scroll a bit further down on Google, you'll start to see some alternative readings of this definition and story. Like this one, which says, the crone image represents wisdom, inner knowing and intuition. And this led me to work, to some of the work of some of the earlier feminists from my mum's generation, such as Jean Shinoda Bolan and her books, Crones Don't Whine and Goddesses and Older Women. I heartily recommend them if you're interested in this kind of shiz. These were published over 20 years ago now. And these books led me by the bony hand into a magical world of stories about goddesses in older women. So old Celtic stories about the endurance of Branwen and the wit of Rhiannon, and stories of goddesses from Greek mythology such as Hecate, wise, knowing, a culmination of a lifetime of experience. And Hecate is often depicted in art with 3 bases, here, which then leads us into this like whole neo-pagan idea of the triple goddess. which is the mapping out of the 3 stages of a woman's life: maiden, mother, and the third act, crone. And these tales led me to an exhibition at Karen Sherwood's Cupola Gallery in Hillsborough. I think Karen's spoken here before. And the work of a local artist called Lynn Hodnett. I don't know if any of you are familiar with her stuff. Or as she's known in Crone Club, the Crone of Corwen and Sheffield. And much of Lynn's work is inspired by a book called The Women Who Run With Wolves, and is inspired by these stories of wild women and folklore. And the stage that I'm at in my life, I just found her art really connected with me as a woman in midlife. And her artwork just makes me feel better about getting older somehow. It seems to sort of give me some power back. And that's partly because of this sort of connection to the goddess and the mythical stuff. And such is the power of myth and story and legend that it's really no surprise that the definition for crone that comes out top of Google is already starting to be corrupted. So in fact, this definition here now appears just a few entries down on a Google search. And you'll see this definition being cited quite widely these days, which is that crone is derived from the word cronus, meaning time. So it was basically a celebration of the wisdom that can come with older age. And it also states in this definition that crone can also mean crown, which is like a symbol of the power that women can have in older life. And this is played back to us a lot in a lot of the imagery that is popular in Crone Club, and another Facebook group actually called Hera and Her Wayward Daughters, which is also worth checking out if you're interested in positive imagery of crone. Anyway, just one entry below that is this definition, which comes from a website called the Crone's Council, which is pretty cool. And it claims that crone, hag, and witch were in fact all once positive words for old women. Crone coming from crown, hag coming from hagio, meaning holy, and witch coming from wit, meaning wise. And they go on to say that the meaning of these words, however, were corrupted and eventually reversed during the 300 years of the Inquisition, when the male-dominated church wanted to eliminate women holding positions of power. So what is the definitive truth of the origin of the word crone, and who is corrupting who here? Who's corrupting who? I'm corrupting English, anyway. Well, that's a genuine question that I'd like to put out there today to anyone who's here and anyone who's watching. If we've got any linguists or classicists, please do get in touch, because we'd like to sort of put together the research around that. Lynn Hodnett actually sent me an interesting article about the etymology of crone, which I can again share if anyone's interested. And that backs this up. It says that crones can well be suspicious of dictionaries, which in listing possible etymologies for crone suggests it's derived from the term meaning carrion. Apparently the OED discusses this possibility, but also suggests that crone is probably from caron, which is what we said before. It's also noteworthy that Merriam-Webster gives the etymology of crony coming from the Greek chronos, meaning long lasting, which is interesting. And it says it should therefore seem eminently logical that crone is rooted in the word for long lasting, for that is what crones are. But in the meantime, let's just agree, shall we, that in a post-truth world where idiots like this one can lie and still claim that they're speaking the truth, maybe right now the definitive truth is just what anyone says it is. So for now, I'm saying the true definition of crone is a definition from this book, which is called Crones Don't Whine by Dr. Jean Berlin. She's a doctor, so it must be true. And she says, to be a crone is about inner development, not outer appearance. A crone is a woman who has wisdom, compassion, humour, courage and vitality. She has a sense of truly being herself, can express what she knows and feels and takes action when need be. She does not avert her eyes or numb her mind from reality. She can see the flaws and imperfections in herself and others, but the light in which she sees is not harsh or judgmental. She has learned to trust herself, to know what she knows. And if anyone would like to challenge that definition, do feel free. So that's part, I love that, it's called The Lady of Shalott. She's got like a nice point. The post-menopausal Lady of Shalott, if you fancy that. Okay, so why did I set up Crone Club, and why do we actually need to corrupt the narrative of female ageing? So this is a picture taken when I was giving a TED talk a few years ago in my mid-40s. And I'd recently received an autism diagnosis, and yes, that was before it was cool. Neurodiversity. And I did a TED talk about it, and I normally hate pictures of myself, but when I saw this picture, I thought, wow, this is the kind of crone that I want to be in my next phase of life. I'm standing tall, I'm firmly rooted, I'm holding my space, my gaze is like direct and unapologetic, I'm looking up, I look comfortable in my own skin, I'm not hiding behind anything, and I'm clearly having the time of my life. So yeah, looking at this image makes me feel like good. And we'll come back to the importance of positive imagery in terms of corrupting the stories that we carry around about ourselves later. But then, as I was approaching 50, this happened. And just like billions and billions and billions and billions of women before me, I hit menopause, or perimenopause. I didn't know that was called that either. So like many women of my generation, such as our lovely Davina McCall there, I was struck by just how ill-prepared I was for this life event, and how little had been spoken about it previously. But whilst people like Davina and Mariella and stuff are doing a sterling job of raising awareness of the symptoms and injustices and stuff around menopause, the beef that I still have is that it's still a narrative that's driven largely by fear. And everywhere I turned as I was like approaching 50, my social media watercourses were being flooded with toxic imagery telling me that getting older as a woman was a shameful thing, and that age was something to fight at all costs. And combine that with changing hormones, and bang, I was back to a constant state of fight or flight or freeze. And I don't want to feel like that anymore, you know what I mean? There's a Rumi quote that says, don't move the way fear makes you move. And you can instantly feel it, can't you, sort of tightening you up. So rather than accepting this toxic narrative of female ageing, I was just really determined to do something to corrupt it, even if that was just in a real small way. And that's why I set up Crone Club. So Crone Club started out as a private Facebook group of just a few inspiring women that I've known over the years. But now the group has grown from like just 8 of us to 350 members 1 year on, a lot of whom are very engaged. And we celebrate the joy that can be found in older age. We share books and TV programs and articles and podcasts and poems, sometimes poems of defiance like this. I want my body to rot, loose skin and sagging breasts, lips thinned by the years of laughter, every line untucked and carved deep. I want to be so wrinkled and withered that the AI can't even identify a face. But often, often the poems are ones of beauty and nature and honouring the crones and the creative crones that have come before us. So this, I just wanted to share this bit with you, which was a post from the spring equinox last week, and it's Patti Smith reading a poem about spring by Emily Dickinson.
A light exists in spring by Emily Dickinson. A light exists in spring, not present on the year, at any other period when March is scarcely here. A color stamps abroad on solitary fields that science cannot overtake, but human nature feels. It waits upon the lawn, it shows the furthest tree, upon the furthest slope, you know. It almost speaks to you. Then, as horizons step, our noons report away. Without the formula of sound, it passes and we stay. Quality of loss, affecting our content, as trade had suddenly encroached upon a sacrament.
Those themes are very common in Crown Club. It's about change and accepting change, and that whole connection with nature and spring and different seasons, and that sort of was rather beautiful. So in the group, we also encourage co-creation of positive content as well. So we post Crone assignments, such as this one, which is share a positive image of ageing. And if you caught my talk at the Sheffield Content Club, you'll have seen the results of that particular assignment. I think it might be online somewhere. So this year, we also want to take that a step further and run a project called From Our Crone Correspondent, to supercharge the co-creation of positive content, where we're going to invite crones with lived experience to become an official correspondent in a very, very niche area, crone area. So I'm testing that out with one of our members at the moment, who's based in Bristol. She's called Jeannie Ellen, and she has multiple life-limiting conditions, which means she's actually pretty housebound. But she posts a haiku every morning, celebrating what she can see through her window. And she also passes on positive pills of wisdom to our crones in training. And I love this picture here because she has difficulty walking now, so she's made a pledge to only buy beautiful and highly impractical shoes for the first time she doesn't have to walk anywhere. So she truly is like Blake's A World in a Grain of Sand. A big part of what we do in Crone Club is provide the space to bring together younger and older women so they can ask questions and learn from older women who've lived experience on specific topics. So this is a question that I posed to the group a few weeks ago. My dad's poorly and I wanted their advice on how to prepare for the death of a loved parent. So it's not all jolly content that we share, but it mainly is. And the responses were so touching. It was quite overwhelming, really, but it really helped me. From little vignettes of someone's last day with her mum and the 3 hours they spent laughing in Atkinson's cafe, through to practical advice from crones who actually are the dying parent and what they want from their perspective. It's not all about you. It was helpful to know. Clutter around so you know that they're still, they know that you're still there and stuff. So, it's just immensely powerful. We also promote creative projects and opportunities for collaboration and learning. Sort of curiosity and creativity are two real golden threads that run through Crone World. And some great collaborations have come out of it already. I can tell you more about that later if you're interested. And we also create opportunities for stories to be shared wider. So last year, I think at the Content Club, I was saying I had an idea to do a Crone Human Library. But we did it, and we partnered up with the University of Sheffield, Lorna Warren and Pam McKinney, and we did a project for Festival of the Mind. So I don't know, is everyone familiar with the concept of a human library? Well, ours wasn't actually an official human library. In fact, it was highly unofficial, probably. But as our methodology differed slightly, deliberately, I have to say. But the premise is basically the same. So the reader comes into the pop-up library and they pick a book title that they like the look of. But then rather than taking out a printed book, they get matched up with the real human behind that book title. And they go and sit with them for half an hour and listen. That space is held for that story to be told. And it's incredible. We did it in the Spiegel tent. We had 20 older women and then 20 younger women coming in to listen to their stories. And the feedback from the readers and the books was just quite overwhelming, really. You can find out more about that on the Crone website if you want to find out more. But this year we're hoping to put some of those conversations online and start building a Crone digital library. So just need a bit of funding. If anyone can help with that, do give us a shout. Okay, so for the remainder of our time today, I just thought it might be fun to share a couple of the things we found useful in getting our little community rocking. How as creatives do we actually go about positively corrupting a negative narrative? So I guess my first tips are mainly around creating a space for your gang of subversion. And how do you do that? Well, some of the top tips that I would say is, firstly, start with your smallest viable proposition and see what happens. You can wait forever till things are perfect and bulletproof, and then the moment's passed. And I've got hundreds of projects that never made the light of day. So I learned from that as a Crone. And then you want to make it easy for your tribe to take that first step towards their new bliss, if you like. Ideally by creating a space where they already hang out. So for us, Facebook was an obvious thing because for women in midlife and beyond, Facebook is still quite widely used. So our smallest viable proposition, if you like, was just to set up a Facebook group of a few positive women that I already knew. Which takes me to tip 2, which is start first with your likely apostles and be really selective about who you let in. So for your first wave, go for the people who are most likely to share your mission and your values, and most importantly, your humour. That initial bonding in a group, in a gang, is really important, and everyone needs to feel like it's a safe space. In the academy, that marketing academy that I run, one of the greatest demons for women in midlife on social media is the fear of being trolled or shot down in public. So I have to fiercely protect that space. That's one. And tip 3 is keep it niche. So be really clear about who your gang is for, what the rules are, and give really clear guidance for the sort of content that you're looking for. And don't be afraid or apologetic to sort of rigorously police that. The second load of tips are around content. When you're thinking about what kind of content to share, I think it's helpful to think about these 3 questions. Firstly, what does the world need right now? I don't know about you, but I'd suggest that right now the kind of content the world needs is content that gives us some hope of a better future. Compassion, warmth, joy, healing, collaboration, creativity, positivity. So that kind of became the basis of the brief, if you like. Second question to ask yourselves is, what do your niche tribes need right now? What are their pain points? What are their frustrations? What's keeping them up at night? And thirdly, what is their new bliss? How do they want to feel? Who do they want to be? Who do they want to be like? And what do they want to be able to actually do? So for Crown Club, we've got we've got more tribes than this, but we've got 3 main tribes. And I haven't got time to go into the pain points and new bliss for each of these tribes now, but suffice to say, so we've got over there, if you can't see, we've got the crones, who are kind of the VIPs, and then there's also the ones who aren't online and need their stories capturing and sharing. We've got the menopausal midlifers, like me, who are in 2 groups. We've got like the feministas, the activists, pro business owners, and then we've got the who are the front line now gang, which is people who are really struggling with where they are with menopause. And then we've got a 3rd tribe, which has kind of come along later after speaking at the Content Club. Actually, there were a lot of young people who wanted to get involved and were really interested and were desperate to learn from older women. So they're our 3rd tribe, which we've tentatively called Curious Maidens and Mothers. But I think suffice to say that what all our tribes need right now is positive content, and content that reframes older age and that shows there is life on the other side of menopause, and that life can be like a really good one. And the new bliss is, well, for me, it's like making peace with my fetid, decaying meat suit and feeling less frightened, less ashamed, and more positive about getting older. So what does this mean in terms of content? It means we surround ourselves with role models and stories and images that embody the crone values and crone archetypes that we want to aspire to, whether that's creative crones, that should also be grumpy crone, I love her, Maggie Hamley, the body confidence crone, the style crone, the nature crone, the adventure crone. That's a great story, that one, worth checking out. The crone activists, Sue Wyatt is one of our members, and I had a really great conversation with Kathleen, one of the last Women of Steel as well. Goddesses from the past, and inspiring crones from other cultures. And my favourite crone club archetype, which is the mischief crone, which is like, yeah. I particularly love this post here, which was about the profanity embroidery project, which is brilliant. And I've ended on mischief crone because it's such a key crone quality. And as creatives, you know, let's be honest, it's where the fun is when you come into when you're subverting a mainstream narrative. So I just want to show you just 2 examples of that really quickly. So when we were doing the Crone Human Library, I wanted to like create a stamp. I've always had to think about stamping books. So I did a post on Crone Club, and with a brief about what I was thinking, and I wanted to kind of subvert the old ex libris bookplate idea. I don't know if everyone will be familiar with that. I know we are older, aren't we? But I don't know if younger people are. Are you familiar with what that is? So it's basically, I got some for Christmas when I was little, I remember, and they were basically stickers that you stuck in front of your book and sort of kind of like a hands-off thing. This book belongs to type of thing. And ex libris literally means from the library of, and wealthy gents back in the day used to get book plates designed for their personal library and stuck in the front, and as a clear statement of ownership. And typically they'd feature this type of image here, which is a demure young lady reading. And lucky for me, Lynn Hobnet responded to my call for someone to help me design this, and she said she'd have a go at one, which is nice. And so the ex Libris Crone Club stamp was born. Sorry. There we go. So why waste a good idea? What could be a better subversion of a symbol of stereotypical female domesticity than the humble tea towel, which we've billed as being the most expensive tea towel you will never need. A statement of crone intent, if ever there was one. And that was just a little bit tonight. Sorry. Could love a bit of dollar. And finally, how to get involved. So if you want to play a part in the Reclaiming Crone movement, here's 3 things you could do. First, as creatives, everyone in this room, I feel, does hold the power to create a more positive narrative of older women. If you work in the agency side, through working with your clients and through commissioning positive photography and creating content that communicates some of the values that I've been talking about today. Secondly, you could join the club. I'm actually working on a proper offer for formal paying members at the moment, but at the moment you can join the club by joining the private Facebook group if you're a crone or a crone in training. But we welcome everyone to sign up to our mailing list, which is croneclub.org, because I think we all have a massive part to play in creating a healthy narrative for ageing for everybody across all generations. Or thirdly, you can buy the most expensive tea towel you'll never need. I have a few here, should you require. Just 25 of your English pounds, though you can pay more if you want. You can frame it, put it on your wall, put it on your dog as a headscarf. You can use it as a towel to get right into your bits after wild swimming. But whatever you do, crones, just don't dry the bloody pots with it.